I found a lot of snakes this year, and I mean a lot. The beginning of the year was solid, but things started warming up, literally and metaphorically, in the month of April. A good friend and I took a week-long road trip from central Georgia all the way to the southern tip of Florida, and we found a lot of cool snakes. We got a Florida scarlet snake, a scarlet king snake, a mangrove salt marsh snake, and then we were really hoping to see one of those banana yellow Florida rat snakes, and we got what we wished for.
I'm flipping out.
The next major highlight was in the month of May, and I think it was early in the month when I was actually on my way between two different herping spots when I sort of accidentally cruised my lifer eastern hognose snake. Super sweet snake, and it absolutely made my month. Next up is one of my favorite lifers, probably ever. I had spent the past year driving the same stupid back roads looking for a mole king snake, and I actually saw it dead on the road twice before finally, in I think it was June of this past year, I found it alive on the road. So after over a year, hundreds of dollars of gas money, I finally cruised a mole king snake locally.
Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. I have spent over a year grinding for this snake.
Then only a week after finding the mole king, I expanded my horizons a little bit and started driving further out in the hopes of finding a Carolina pygmy rattlesnake. And it literally took 1 hour of concentrated effort on the first day before I found it crawling across a quiet road. I mean, that was too easy. It's not often that happens. As an honorable mention is this eastern king snake. It's kind of a joke among my friends that I really struggle to find eastern king snakes, and this was the only eastern king that I found this year, but I'd say it was a pretty good one. It had this really unique pattern on its head, like on the top of its head scales. It really looked like it had a smiling face emoji going on, so super stoked about that one. Then later in the year, I think it was in June, my dad and I made a weekend trip to South Georgia, where, among other things, I found my lifer dusky pygmy rattlesnake. Super stoked about this one, and it definitely made the long drive worth it. Then 1 or 2 months later, I made another stab at South Georgia, this time solo, where I cruised a black swamp snake. This is honestly one of the hardest snakes in Georgia to find, so I'm kind of glad that I checked this lifer off early instead of having to grind for it later on. But really unique, secretive little snake. And I say I checked the lifer off, but I don't mean it in such a cold, calculated way. I was super stoked about the find, and I still am. But hands down, my favorite lifer of the year was my lifer southern hognose snake in Georgia. It was actually the day before my birthday when I packed the car and made the long drive to the Sandhills. And then that night, or I guess that morning, I turned 18 at a random truck stop, and then I got up and I started cruising for Simus. And really brutal day, my birthday that day. I flipped a scarlet king snake, that was a major highlight, but I watched somebody else find a southern hognose snake in front of me. And when that happens, you can't count it as your lifer because you personally weren't the one who found it. And so I'm like, I guess I'm staying out here another day. And mind you, this was supposed to be a day trip. I thought I would be leaving that night. But another night at the truck stop. I wake up, now it's day 2, same thing. Just dawn till dusk cruising, driving old back roads. And again, by some horrible twist of fate, I watch another herper find a Simus in front of me. And it's like, man, I've gotten 2 secondhand Simus in 2 days, and I don't have a lot to show for my efforts. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay out here one more day. But at this point, man, morale is like at an all-time low. I'm like out of money, my clothes are all dirty, and I'm running out of canned soup. But Same story. I wake up before the sun and start cruising, and then at like 10:30 a.m., I see it in front of me, the Simus, climbing up the left shoulder of the road, and man, it just made it all worth it. Definitely the most excited I've been for a snake in a very long time. Man, it's kind of hard to explain to people what herping is all about. It seems like a dangerous thing to some people. They're like, ooh, you're messing with snakes. You could get bit, you could die. It seems like a dorky thing to some people, which it totally is, by the way. But I think it's about the cool people. It's about the beautiful animals, all the things. But I think it's more so about meeting a goal. It's like watching a YouTube video or seeing a picture in a field guide as a kid and being like, man, I would like to find that for myself. And then you go out there and you make it happen. And I mean, it's about all the things that happen along the way too. It's about the flat tires and the days you find nothing and the poison ivy, and not to mention the hundreds of dollars of gas money. But I heard this neuroscientist say, I think his name is Robert Sapolsky, and I'm probably going to butcher the quote, but it's that dopamine is not the pursuit of pleasure, it's the pleasure of pursuit. It's not so much finding the thing as it is chasing the thing that makes it fun. Because, I mean, this hobby wouldn't be fun if you could just go outside and you were up to your knees in southern hognose snakes. It's the fact that you have to put in effort and make sacrifices, and then that payoff at the end after the journey is just the best feeling ever.
Just don't crash into the pine tree behind you.